I'm sure you've all heard the saying, it takes a village to raise a child. I know I've used it many times, particularly when I've needed help with one of my own kids, when I couldn't be there or needed advice from someone wiser than I. The origins of this saying are often debated, but from what I've uncovered, maybe from several countries in Africa, referring to extended family as well as any adult within the village and surrounding confines, to possibly early biblical references. It also happens to be the title of several books because it is such an important concept. We owe it to our children to create safe spaces so they can play, grow, learn, and take pride in being part of a caring community. A community is about give and take. That's why it's so important to foster caring and responsibility. 26 plus years ago, Rudy Corpus Jr. wanted to return to his neighborhood with a mission to rebuild and recreate the idea of a village in the sense of a safe community for all, and particularly for the kids most impacted when it's not safe. As Rudy often says, it takes the hood to save the hood. Welcome to Small and Gutsy, a podcast featuring interviews with nonprofit and social impact organizations under $10 million. My name is Laura Witkoff, and I'm excited and proud to be your host. My hope is that you love the stories as much as we do, and perhaps you will find needed services, a job, volunteer, or donate. Feel free to pass along any valuable information you hear today to others, and remember to send me the name of any organization you'd like featured at reachus@theintrinsicgroup.com. I want to thank our main sponsor, The Intrinsic Group, a boutique consulting firm, for supporting this podcast series. United Playaz, founded 26 plus years ago by Rudy Corpus Jr., is a San Francisco-based violence prevention and youth development organization providing a comprehensive range of services to prepare vulnerable youth for higher education, employment, and healthy living within a safe, nurturing, and collaborative environment, truly creating a safe village. United Playaz transforms the lives of students and staff while serving the community, and they employ 80% formerly incarcerated folks. Let's learn about how they do this. Today, I am so very excited and proud to introduce my amazing guests, Rudy Corpus Jr., Executive Director and Founder, and Will Ramirez, High School Program Coordinator. So let's get started. Welcome, Rudy and Will. Share with us your passion about United Playaz and what led you to this organization.
Will, you want to start?
Sure, I'll go first. What passion led me to United Playaz? Well, there's a long history behind that. And I'm going to go ahead and give my history. My history is when I was 15 years old, I was given 2 life sentences in adult prison. I was charged with first-degree murder, first-degree attempted murder, given double life sentences, 2 life sentences, 26 life for murder and life possibility of parole for attempted murder. And I ended up doing 22 years. From the age of 15 to 38, I paroled when I was 38 years old. I'm state raised by institutions of California, CDC, and I wanted to do something about it. Coming out, I wanted to work with youth, whether I wanted to volunteer, spend some time, some way, somehow, I wanted to work with youth. I ended up checking in with the counselors at 111 Taylor Geo. That's transitional housing when we paroled. I mentioned to the counselor that I wanted to work with youth, and he referred me to Rudy, United Playaz. And I checked in, and it happened to be the fundraiser night. And I seen Borilla. Borilla, he did 45 years in prison. I did time with him inside, and I seen him, and it was like, hey, welcome home. I seen everything was going on. He's like, gotta check us out with the youth, and come, you gotta be a part of us. Checked in, started volunteering with UP. First, I'm just volunteering, hanging out, loving it. Love being around the elementary. There's middle school, there's high school, there's TAY, there's reentry, and I just fell in love with the ideology that UP stands for, and it takes the hood to save the hood, because it's through interdependence. We need each other. Dependence is one thing, but interdependence is power. So I love the philosophy, met the staff, I related to them, similar backgrounds, similar ideologies. We're all in the same, helping people. And that's how I got into UP.
You wanted to make a difference, and it sounds like you really have. How long have you been there, Will?
I've been here 2.5 years.
You mentioned, I know you're a high school program coordinator, but you mentioned elementary school. What age is the clubhouse open for kids?
We have a program for kindergarten to 12th grade.
Fantastic.
During the pandemic, right now we only have middle school and high school because of social distancing and limited space. So we also have the Gene Friend Recreational Center, We have 3 pods there. We have kindergarten through 6th grade there because we're collaborating with West Bay, another community organization, and they have a middle school program there. And then we have our middle school here at UP upstairs, and we have high school downstairs. So during the pandemic, things look a lot different.
It sounds like you guys have adjusted to that and are still doing incredible work despite, COVID-19.
The kids are home. Sometimes home ain't the best place for you to be at. There's abuses going on. There's a lot of stuff going on. There's multiple people there. So to get them out, help them with their education, and provide them with the nourishment that we can give them. The kids love the program, but we got to push for the kids because they need this. Suicide's going up, drug addiction, abuse. A lot of times being home right now is not the place to be. So combined with their education, making sure that they're not going to fall behind, especially the kids from kindergarten to 3rd grade, because during a regular program, we have our Real Players Read program, making sure the kids that are falling behind in the 3rd grade, make sure that they learn how to read, because from kindergarten to 3rd grade, they're learning how to read. And after 3rd grade, they read to learn.
So well said. That is such a deep educational moment. I'm not sure most people realize that early fundamental building block allows them to explore the world in a new way. Beautifully said.
That's also combating the school to prison pipeline.
Yes.
Kids don't learn how to read, they're pretty much just going to get pushed through. They're going to struggle all their lives. Eventually they get, I'm going to say, the efforts and give up.
Yeah.
And I'm speaking from experience because that's what I did. I fell so far behind. I got the fuck it's. And I gave up on school.
It's hard to climb out of that hole once you don't have those building blocks. You said it perfectly. And you're an incredible role model from your own experience. You don't want to see that happening to other kids.
To get out of prison, I had to learn my triggers, my causative factors, why I did what I did, and then have a management plan. But first, I got to find them. You got to find the root of the problem in order to find a solution, a good solution, not a Band-Aid, not a temporary solution. So I had to go back to my childhood. And a lot of my causative factors go back to kindergarten.
This is so fascinating. What led you to sort of uncover and discover that in a particular way? And then I'll hand it over to Rudy.
I was motivated by freedom because the Board of Prison Hearings, they require that we have our causative factors, at least to the crime. What is the root of the problem that triggered you? Because if you don't have a management plan for that, you can repeat it. But you got to have a management plan. Now, the world is not black and white. We can't say you're cured and you're good and you're never going to do anything again, but you got to have a management plan. And I ran with it. I did all the self-help groups. I did them over and over and over. And I pretty much anything I get my hands on, I just started learning.
You need to have a management plan and you have to have a safety plan to say, okay, if I have this experience, I got to figure out something else to do. And that's exactly what you've demonstrated. And
there's a lot that comes together. Around the same time, I was taking a college course and I had to do the 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. So I learned about principles, your eulogy, and it combined with AA and NA 12-step program, CGA. CGA is Criminals and Gang Members Anonymous. It's all addictions, lifestyle addiction. Principles are all the same. So it all came together. I had to dig in deep in my inventory when I was doing the groups. All our causative factors and what triggers, they're like just character defects. It's the same. There's just a different name for used in the 12-step programs. To this day, I still love the 12-step programs because the principles are simple and they work.
Yeah. Yeah. Good for you. That's an incredible story. Rudy, jump in here. What's your passion? How did you get involved?
I'm just going to say, I'm so inspired by Brother Will. I know he's been here for like 3 years. But brothers like him are the ones that continue to give me the passion to do what I do. And Will's being so humble. This dude right here, man, he's a man of God. And I don't like sticking my feather in his hat, but I'm going to be honest, I give credit where credit's due. And this dude right here, I swear to God, man, I love him like a fat kid loves cake. You know what I mean? That's why I brought him on. He's one of many guys who have came home, and girls, women who have came home from out the institution. Will always hands down, man. I swear to God, I don't tell him enough, but I really, really look up to him and I'm inspired by his movement.
It is
real
inspiring.
Talk. Hey, real talk, Will.
Okay, Rudy, you're on. Part of your passion is other people's inspirational stories and their connection to United Playaz. So you started this.
Yeah, we're going on our 27th year. We originated October the 8th, 1994. From gang violence. And when you ask about passion, to me, it's just a word. But to me, that's a feeling. And to me, building a relationship with a higher power, with the Spirit, Jesus Christ, my Lord and Savior. And that passion right there for him to do what he did, to sacrifice his life for everybody to be forgiven for their sin, even his enemies. Now that right there is a drive that's passionate enough for me to do whatever I need to do to sacrifice my life for others. Because I wasn't always about giving, you know. I wasn't always about giving. So many people been doing this way before I done it, and people are gonna do it after me. But I just want to make sure that my pain on this planet is my purpose now. That's my passion, my drive. You know, what are you on this planet for? What is your purpose? Are you here to just be here? Your existence? No, I'm here because there's a purpose. And now I found what my purpose is. And it came from my pain and the passion.
It's bigger than you, is what you're saying.
Oh, yeah, them peas, you know what I mean? I'm a real player. You hear me? I'm a real player, man. You know, them real players that's doing something positive, productive for the people in the community, saving lives, teaching them the truth as young as they can start listening, whether they from in the womb, right? Because when you in the tomb, you ain't gonna hear no more. I don't know. I ain't never been dead. Got close to it, but I ain't never been dead. But when you in the belly, my understanding is you can start hearing already, and you can start feeling. And so, you know, I want to start. I want to speak life. You know how they say R.I.P. when somebody dies, rest in peace. I want to talk about L.I.P. live in peace.
Oh, I love that. You got a lot of these.
Oh man, that's what God does. He just gives them to me.
For over 26 years. So
26.
Almost 27. Your passion is so clear. It's your purpose. It really comes from a higher power. I get this. Give me an example of what brings you joy in a moment at the clubhouse or on the street.
So, I mean, there's so many to go on. And the first one I could think of out of my mind, since Will is on there, is when I walk into the building and I see Will and other staff sharing wisdom with the kids and seeing the kids get it. Whether it's 100 kids or whether it's 2 kids, they're sitting up there spending time with them, quality time. To me, that brings me joy to see that, especially where Will comes from and other brothers and sisters like him. You know what I mean? Will didn't walk the hot rocks of Baghdad barefooted. He didn't been through the gridiron. Look at him now. He's in the light. That man is in the light. He was in the darkness. He was in the belly of the beast. You know what I mean? I touched my foot in one of those jailhouses. Imagine. He did 22 years. That's almost as long as our organization. And for him to survive that, man, that's a blessing. That's a blessing from God.
Not only survive, but now impact others so they never have to do that.
But that's what I'm saying, Laura. You know what I mean? It ain't how you start the race, it's how you finish it. Look at what Will impact he's making now. And to me, that brings me joy.
Yeah.
To see that the legacy of many, many people who's been doing this before, it's even like Martin Luther King. Everybody was celebrating him yesterday. Will does this every day. 365, ain't no breaks. This ain't even his job. This is his life. You know what I mean? I called him, and like you asked me already, get some people. I told Will a little bit of last week. He didn't really know what's going on. I called him last night. Said, well, I need you up on here because I know, man, what you got to say is real. And guess what? He didn't hesitate. He said, all right, I'll start work at 8. Just shoot me the info. Boom, boom, boom. Now, look, he's doing this in living color. That's what I'm talking about.
So when you...
True story, right, Will? Based on a true story.
You guys are all
Real
about
life.
the truth. That's what's clear to me.
We represent.
Yeah, you represent the
It's
truth.
kind of like what you were saying, because I'm still on parole. Every year we do goals. And as I'm writing this stuff down, I'm like, man, my work is my coping skills. My work is my community service. My work is everything I do at work is what I was recommended by the board. And I do it so much, there's a lot of stuff that I'm not even putting on paper.
Hey, Will, you're promoting right now and advocating because you never know who's going to watch this and listen to this. The inspiration it will bring. Hopefully it bring us millions. We need it.
Yeah, for sure. Will, the other thing that occurred to me is when you're off parole, I wonder if you'll still be doing goals, because part of the work life there is setting goals for kids to continue to integrate the learning that you're giving them and the role modeling that you're giving them.
It'll definitely continue because goals is a part of life. There's no cure to life. Life is managed. It's not managed one time and then you're cool. You got to check in every 6 months, 3 months, revisit your goals and see where you're at. Make sure you don't fall too far off track. We're human. We're going to fall off track. You check yourself, you come back, It's a lifelong plan.
Yeah.
And every year, especially every year, like do with the kids, beginning with the end in mind and 7 habits. So that's part of life, and that's something I'll take with me because that's going to be that's your blueprint. That's your compass. It gives you a sense of direction. It shows you where you're at, where you want to go. You always got to revisit that. And I share that with the kids. That's what I'm doing.
Amen. Hey, Will, just like at the beginning of the year, everybody has, right, new goals, right? People asking, what's your resolution at the beginning of the year? So I get it. I really get it. And, one day at a time, one day at a time.
The dawn of a new day, the dawn of a new year, new us, new birth, start new, start fresh. You can have a New Year's resolution, but when you start with beginning with the end in mind, you really get in touch with what you really value because we can set wrong goals and exert a lot of energy going in the wrong direction.
So you have to make sure the goal is the end really is what you're looking for or what you want to accomplish in order to start it.
Exactly. Ideally, trying to get in touch with the essence of what you really value, even though we might not know what we really value.
So when you feel like, and Rudy, you said this too, when you feel like the light bulb goes on for the kids, what do you see or what do you hear from them that sort of indicates that? Because that's the impact that you guys are making on this next generation or two.
It starts at a younger age. Sometimes at a high school age, you already got people who kill people. You know what I mean? So we want to start as young as possible and try to feed them. You know how they say man can't live on bread alone? That bread is the love, the spirit. And whatever you teach a kid at a young age, the good things, the right things, no matter how bad that person gets in age, he would always remember the good. That never leaves you. And so we want to install the right guidance into these kids. We want to teach them, the pitfalls, the potholes and the obstacles that's in their path, but they have to experience them and go through them to understand and have the experience. What better individuals who have been through it and talk to them about violence than people who experienced it? The definition of suffering to me is experience.
And that's the definition of resilience too, right?
Amen. I mean, the neighborhood we live in, we're out here in San Francisco, and, people look at San Francisco and they don't see it as a tough city. We have cable cars. We have, the Golden Gate Bridge. That's what San Francisco is known for. But I'm going to tell you, San Francisco, man, is tough. There's certain parts of Frisco, man, you wouldn't want to walk down. They shooting every day and twice on Sundays. They have reputation, having a lot of gay people, which we have the toughest gay people on the planet. They bring so much fight and so much love. And, and so there's so much that these kids experience. I live right here in the South of Market, right? District 6, Tenderloin, and the South of Market area, where the kids who live here, you have to be resilient to experience all the stuff that they experience. Because walking out their house, you got issues, right? A lot of them. And then going to school or going to the store, you probably got 5, 6 obstacles that you got to pass through that are not normal. And to us, it gets normal because you see it every single day. People on the floor sleeping, OD, needles, feces, mentally ill, all kind of stuff, shooting, stabbings, just going one way to the store before you even come home. And so the trauma you got to have to deal with as a young person, to experience all that and to continue, man, to strive just to survive every day. It's tough.
Unimaginably tough that these kids have to experience. So, by creating a space for them or a clubhouse or even a virtual space when you have to, allows them to build that level of resilience that you're talking about.
Well, I mean, when I grew up, so I'm born and raised in the South of Market. I'm for real. I'm a first generation Filipino in the South of Market. We have a 100-year history of Filipinos in this neighborhood. My father, he was a master sergeant in a white man's army. When he came out here, I got a big family. He raised us to be young soldiers. You know what I mean? And, we wasn't rich, but we wasn't poor. You know what I mean? We had enough to survive. And my father taught us the tough way. And so growing up in this neighborhood and experience a lot of the stuff that we experience allowed us to be strong and tough. And I wasn't, like I said earlier, I wasn't always that person who would give. It was in my heart, but you couldn't be that way because, you know, you're looked at as somebody who will prey on you if you look soft. And so you had to put up a front and act like you was tough or you wasn't no sucker. And now I'm in the same neighborhood. You know, I used to destroy the neighborhood, but now in the whole opposite realm of it and giving back unselfishly, giving back to the people, not just material things, but the things that hit your heart, your spirit, and your mind and your soul.
What is it like now? I know with COVID, there may be some exceptions, but what is it like now when you take a group of kids out on the street, the same street you walked on, and you're making a difference? What is that like for you?
You want to share that, Will? Because I tell them what we did the other day, how we just went down to did an MLK march. You know what I mean?
Well, you know what? Sometimes it's almost hard to put into words because a lot of times we'll take the kids out with sack lunches, with hot meals, and I look back like where I come from. I was in a box, hopeless, thinking I was never going to see daylight. You know, that's the reality of the situation where it was almost a dead end road. And I always think about that every time I walk around when I'm doing something with the kids and we're teaching them how to give back to part of the community. We all have to pull our weight together. We had our MLK march. It's phenomenal. It's empowering. It's therapeutic. It makes me feel like, man, life is meaningful. Life is full of purpose. And I'm in the right place. I'm okay with myself. I'm in the right human being. And I'm good. It gives life's meaning. But not only that, I know I'm contributing to the youth. They're watching me and all the things that I do. I'm planting little seeds of nourishment, of love, of relationships. And it's just almost like the Matrix. Because you know everybody's been affected some way, somehow. Everybody's being impacted. It's a powerful experience.
What we did on Martin Luther King's birthday. For the last 20 years, they have a big march out here. They have a train that comes from San Jose, the Freedom Train, they call it, and it comes to San Francisco. And along the way, it picks up hundreds and hundreds of people. And then when it lands in San Francisco, everybody walks from there to the Yerba Buena Garden. We've been participating for the last probably 25 years. So this year was the only year that there was no march because of the COVID. So we always listen to what the people want. We took heed on what the kids wanted to do this year because we are running program. We got the biggest hub in San Francisco, United Players in West Bay. We click together, collaboration. To me, I feel like we have the blueprint in this country, how we run programming during COVID, because we're really successful at doing it. And so the kids wanted to do the Peace March. They still wanted to continue the momentum and the legacy because of this man, MLK. And the reason I say is I know these kids hear about him in school. You know, he's talked about, they got streets after him, monuments. But I don't really think they get it yet at that young age. But as long as we continue to bring them with us and demonstrate, like Will said, through our action, bringing them down the streets, marching and not even protest, just marching for peace and justice down the block. I promise you, when they get older, they're going to be like, I remember I did that march.
Seems like everyone has moved on. It's time to organize for positivity like the United Players beat. It takes the hood to save the hood. There's nothing wrong with a song to keep us strong. Oh yeah, pump your fists in the air if you value your freedom.
In the memory of Martin Luther King, do not forget what this man stood for and what he died for.
Just remember that you guys all matter. We're doing this for love, and we're proud of all of you.
Your brother got killed. Your brother's doing life. Baby mama just had another baby last night. I know you're mad at the whole world.
Gotta stop the violence, gotta stop the violence, stop the violence. All I hear is paramedics inside, anesthesia.
So, and I'm gonna give you another example. Like when the kids turn 17, 18, they graduate. A lot of them go off in life and they do what they got to do. Quite often, a lot of those kids who leave, they'll come back years later and say, thank you. I got one of them yesterday. Thank you for what you did for my life. Look at me now. I'm out here in Florida. I'm going to college. I got me a family. You know, I'm successful. Without the teachings that you guys gave me and the wisdom, I'd probably be in prison or dead.
Okay, you're giving me goosebumps, and I can only imagine anyone listening to this has goosebumps right now, because that's what your purpose is. That's what you've talked about.
Amen.
That's what your purpose is. Amen to you.
And that person right there may be teaching somebody else, his kids and other people.
Yeah, it's like a pebble in water. What you're creating, right, is you drop the pebble and look at the reverberations of that, right?
Amen.
The ripple effect is amazing. What is something particularly special about this organization or particularly personal? You've already spoken to this a lot. Is there anything we're missing that you want to share?
Will, you want to answer? I got an answer, but I like Will because I always love listening to him.
I love listening to you both.
It's kind of hard to put it in a nutshell because we're not just violent prevention, which looks like you might go and do a mediation for a conflict resolution or something. What we do is you have to be innovative in thinking about like what contributes to violence. And you look at equity, you look at housing, you look at healthy diets, you look at trauma, you look at emotional literacy, empathy. There's just so much you have to look at. Even normalizing the environment that the kids walk by and there's needles and homeless and people. It's ugly out here. There's a lot of, it's not a nurturing environment, which kids can normalize and fall into and identify themselves with that. So we have to combat that and be creative, really sit here and just try to find the best possible solutions on an individual basis because everybody's at their own level. But ultimately, at the end of the day, I would say is we're United Players. It takes the hood to save the hood.
Amen. Can I say something that I think that's so unique?
Yes.
About what we do?
Yes, please do.
We wasn't a nonprofit organization. We originated in '94. We were just a club. I was working for a nonprofit. And I recently came home from out the jail system, right? And was given an opportunity to work with ex-felons, guys coming home from prison and all that. And I never thought that I'd be doing it. And when I was doing this from 94 to like 97, I was still Dr. Jekyll in the morning, Mr. Rob your ass at night, because I wasn't really fully committed and dedicated. But when 97 came, I had my first son. I caught my last case. I said, I can't be a hypocrite to what I'm doing. And so I made a commitment to myself and to God that I would do my best. I'm not, I'm like I said, and Will knows this. I'm a real model. I'm not no role model. I don't play a role. This is real for me. You know what I mean? I got probably more bad habits than all y'all on this phone and everybody who's listening. But I'm for real about what I do. You dig what I'm saying? And so to me, one of the most unique things about this program is that we work with kids from all the way from elementary to adults in the penitentiary. But my staff, there's 20 of us. A lot of my staff and people who volunteer were in for murder. And so what is the correlation between people who are murderers with kids? Nobody would never want to put their kids in a program that got murderers. The guy, when you walk in my door, when you sign in, did 31 years. When you sign up for kids in the elementary program, right? We got volunteers who did 45 years in prison. You go to the middle school, there's a dude who did 19 years who did a life sentence. You go to the high school, you got Will who did a life sentence. And so to me, that's unique. I don't know nobody who does this. I see guys who did life sentences who are working in community, but not on the level when they're working with little kids. And I swear to God, there's so much. You think these adults who are coming from prison who did a life sentence are actually helping the kids? I see it the opposite, that these kids are like medicine to these guys.
That is so beautifully said. It's so, I'm not even sure how to encapsulate it.
Hey, I'm going to be honest with you. A lot of these dudes who I encountered that came home, right, are all committed and loyal. When you look at the recidivism of prison, most of the guys going back are not lifers. These are dudes who probably did 5 years or less. You know what I mean? These guys coming home are staying home. They got it now. Not all of them. I ain't gonna say 100%, but it's probably like less than 1% of them. But they got it. They figured it out. They separated a grown man from the kiddie table. They did enough time and enough training on the inside to understand and know.
And as you said, the medicine is the seeds that they're planting for these kids who look up to them and are learning from them. And I think, Will, what you also said is you're trying to combat what's on the outside of the clubhouse and trying to create a safe space that is a family, because what you've created is unique, is an outlier in the best possible way. And your example of the young man who came back and thanked you is exactly what we want in society in general. You want people to learn from others who've gone before, from whatever they've experienced, to have a better life. And you've done that, and you're doing that.
Will's a real superhero in real life. You watch the movies and you see all them dudes with them capes on. That dude right there is a real hero. And that's his uniform that he's wearing right there.
I see it.
And you know what? I'm sure like brothers like Will and myself and others, they still don't see us as people who have made transition in our life. I know the police, they still look at us as criminals. You know what I mean? Last year at this time, the police raided my house and I do gun buybacks, would build a relationship with them to help. I do that unconditionally because I want to end senseless gun violence. I'm not against the Second Amendment, but I want to end senseless gun violence. I really do. I know I'm a survivor from it. And so
I'm sorry to hear that.
Man, hey, we did a gun buy. We've been doing it for the last, I think, 7 years, right?
Yeah, you guys just did a buyback in December, right? Do you want to share a little bit about that?
But this last one we did in 2020 was during the pandemic. It's usually done nationwide. We do it. We're the only ones that stepped to the plate and did it in real life. And we was able to get 233 guns off the streets, right? 233 guns, and 8 of them were semi-automatics.
You guys are a gift to San Francisco. My wish is that your program can be replicated in every neighborhood that needs it. And I hope that happens. Before we close out, I have, of course...
We're already closing out?
No, I'll keep talking to you as long as you want.
We're going to have to do part 2.
You guys are amazing. But I do have some gutsy questions.
Hey, Pavel, we got to do part 2, player.
So what is at the top of your wish list? If you can't answer with money or funding, what is at the top of your wish list today?
For me to continue to have 26 more years of success. I'm serious. I want this to keep going because it's working. We're like, out of 10, we're like 7 out of 3 saving lives. We better than half and half.
Yeah, you're saving kids and you're saving folks who've been incarcerated coming back out, not going back in and really finding the purpose. So you're kind of on both sides of that spectrum, which is amazing. Will, what's yours for United Playaz?
You know what? Right now, everything's slow with the program. But me, I believe in building efficacy projects, like little science projects, building projects, nothing too complicated. We don't have a welding shop. We don't have stuff like that. But little tinkering, I believe that keeps them busy, skill building. That right there, I believe, is it does something to you. It builds your confidence.
Yeah, it does. And that would be great if there'd be a sponsor out there to help create those environments for you within the clubhouse that could have those projects. Kids feel really proud, and so do young adults, when they've completed something. So both of those are amazing wishes.
And I believe that could be a stepping stone for academics too, because a lot of kids, they don't like academics, but when you build that confidence, they'll challenge themselves a little bit more.
You're 100% right.
My vision is the building that we're currently in. We own the building. We want to build up. We got 2 stories, but we outgrown our building. We have so many kids in our program now that we want to build up.
So that's a wish. That's on your wish list.
Absolutely. 2 more floors and then, build an office on top of that. I can have my room, the boom room, my office.
Love it.
You know what I mean? And have a rooftop when people come. We have meetings. We'll have on deck, up there on the roof. And so that's a part of my wish list is to build up. UP.
Great. And that, UP build up. I love it. It's got double meaning. And then what Will said before about you may then have spaces that you can create, or maybe a donor would be able to say, hey, we're going to create a workshop for you and all that. We'll name it the XYZ corporate workshop. And
we'll name that room after Laura Woodcall, Pavel Franstein.
Yeah. Next question. If you were to think of a song that describes United Playaz, what would it be?
Man, that's a good question. Players Holiday. Yeah, it's a Players Holiday. They talking about how all the players in the world, will unite and take over and do good for the world. It's done by Too Short, rapping Forte. It's a Bay Area song. It's a lovely day. That's the hook of the song. It's a lovely day, a lovely day, a lovely day, a lovely day.
I thought you were going to say Self-Destruction, the new version.
Oh, yeah. Oh, Will, you got me. That might be yours. I don't know. Yeah, so I don't know if you remember 31 years ago, as of this week, was the Self-Destruction song that came out in New York. And 31 years later, we have the remix version of the Bay Area that just came out 2 days ago. All Bay Area rap artists that just came out. It's on all platforms. Check it out. It's called 846. Bay Area rappers, all over the Bay Area that came together to do a song for 8 minutes and 46 seconds. You remember what happened 8:46, right? George Floyd. It took him 8 minutes and 46 seconds. Like, song went 8 minutes and 46. It just so happened to be that way. We didn't create. It just happened. And all the rappers on there are talking about positive and stop the violence.
Those are great. Thank you for that. Yeah. What makes your organization gutsy? Because it's definitely gutsy.
What makes us gutsy is passion. It's not always popular or the most comfortable and safest thing to do to go to funerals, to go to neighborhoods, and you don't know what's going to happen. There might be some tension, so we go to neighborhoods. There's just been a shooting. There's going to be a fight. There's going to be. You don't know if there's going to be guns, but it's what's right. And no matter what happens, I'll put it like this: if you were to get shot or to get killed, you know that it's going to happen because you're doing something right. But of course, we're going to do everything to stay back with putting your life in danger recklessly. But ultimately, it's knowing that it's a need, and if you don't do it, who will? It's got to be done. Somebody's got to do it.
Yeah, that's gutsy.
My answer is to do the right thing in the world that's full of hate, because what we do is not popular. To continue to do this for 26 years, to do the right thing, some people can't even do it for 26 minutes. To go against the grain and to be like salmon swimming upstream and fighting the good fight in the world while it's full of hate. To me, that's gutsy.
It is gutsy. You're exactly right. We need more people like you guys to be doing this work.
Like Will.
Yeah.
Like Will Ramirez.
Yeah. What is something maybe insiders or outsiders don't know about United Playaz?
Oh, I could say it. But even though I'm the executive director, all the women here are really the bosses. No, hey, man, I'm going to tell you, our women here is thebomb.com. The ones who are behind the scenes, Misha Olives, Heather Phillips, and Carolyn Caldwell are the women behind who are the real bosses of this. I'm just the face, but they're the ones who really push this organization. They made it from a club to organization. So hats off to all the boss women out there.
Let's dedicate this podcast to them. Go ahead, Will. Sorry.
Oh, my coworker, Crystal, with me and her, we had the high school team. That's a boss woman.
I love it.
You definitely give her Crystal Morales. She's a boss mama.
Amen.
Okay, we're dedicating this podcast to the boss women at United Playaz. How about that? What do you guys think?
There's a lot. There's more of them. There's more of them.
There's a lot.
Send me that list. I'll put them on the blog. I love it. It's great. If you could get one celebrity or influencer to endorse or talk about United Playaz, who would it be?
Who you think, Will?
You know what? I've always idolized Obama. He is sharp, and he represents our group, the culture. And I think ideally that man right there would be a good ally.
Hey, Will, I swear to God, man, I think that's the number one, but I'm gonna go with number two. I would say Kamala Harris, because she's a personal friend of mine. I knew her when she was out here in Frisco, the DA, and we continue, but I ain't seen her now. She's about to be sworn in tomorrow. So I would love for her, the first woman, and she Black, from the Bay Area, she from the town.
And Southeast Asian too.
Come on, man. So I would like Kamala. Come on, Kamala. You know what's up? This your boy Rudy right here. She's a United player too. She done rock the uniform, the shirt that Will got on.
I'm going to hashtag them all. Let's see what happens, right? You guys are so awesome. So I just need to thank you both. I need to thank United Playaz for showing up today, giving us a window into your organization. I want to thank Rudy and Will for your amazing stories, your heart, your commitment. I can't say enough of how enjoyable this conversation has been, how I want to stay in touch. Any last comments, thoughts? You guys are unbelievable.
One of my passions for UP, working at UP, my story, my life, my victim's life would be in vain if I didn't do what I did. I want to try to keep if I can prevent that one youth from getting life in prison or murdered, then I made an impact and I made a difference in somebody's life.
Honestly, and I mean this from the bottom of my heart, praise God. To me, this is all his work and this is God's plan. And so thank you for using us to do your work, choosing us.
Thank you both for spending time with me. This has been absolutely incredible.
Likewise, we got to come to USC when it reopens and have a speak to your class.
Oh, I would love it. Are you kidding? Anytime. Anytime. I would absolutely.
Hey, Will, you hear that?
You guys are totally welcome. I'm teaching a policy class this term, and they would love it because so much of what you're talking about affects policy, right? We got to shift around policy to make things more equitable. Yeah.
Amen.
Couldn't agree.
You see, I'm wearing my USC colors.
I know. I didn't. That's true. That's great. I love it. So what's the best way for people to reach you?
Big Root 415, BIG RUT 415. And Big Root, my name Rudy, so Big Root, that's my nickname.
Our blog of these small and gutsy nonprofits and small social impact organizations can be found in the organizational stories section of the Intrinsic Group website so that we can continue to link clients, volunteers, future employees, and donors to this small but mighty network. Of course, we can't take responsibility outside of our own vetting of the organizations we interview, so before you sign on to support or work for them, we encourage you to do your own due diligence and research them as well. We just want you to learn about the small and gutsy nonprofit and social impact organizational sector so they can spread their story and their impactful work. I want to thank my partners in this endeavor, the Intrinsic Group staff and volunteers, my co-producer, sound engineer, and composer, Pavel Franson, my graphic designer, Nate Addy. Please check out their bios on the Intrinsic website and all the folks, friends, and family who have guided and inspired me. And thank you for listening. If you like this podcast, please share it with your friends, give us some stars, and write a review on wherever you listen to podcasts. And if you're interested in sponsoring Small and Gutsy to keep it going, please reach out to me at reachus@theintrinsicgroup.com. Thank you for listening, and we'll see you next time. I'm Laura. Take care. Bye.